Most of you know, I am Carrie Valdez, and I do psychotherapy with children and adolescents. And Father Kibbe lets me do psychotherapy with children and adolescents here at St. Stephen's. So I see clients here in one of the classrooms all during the week and after school, right? And then on Saturdays, I'm out in Green Hills, where I see clients there all day. So today, we're talking about improving communication with kids, right? So we're gonna start the way we always start. So get as comfortable as you can. This, again, is significant for working with your children and helping them to settle, right? I taught a kiddo yesterday how to breathe, right? He did not know how to breathe. I taught him how to breathe, and I taught him the significance of looking at his fingers while he did it, right? That all that helps to distract them from their thoughts, right? Because they can no longer focus on what's going on in their head. They have to focus on their little fingers, right? And this is a sophomore in high school, so he might have bigger fingers, but it's still, the point is the same, right? Even for you, if you do it to help settle and to be grounded, use your fingers if you need to, right? I usually use my fingers because I don't know, because I'm 12, because I so have to. Okay, so you're gonna breathe in through your nose to the count of 4, and out through your mouth or your nose to the count of 6, right? If your nose isn't working or your kids' noses don't work, fix their nose. It's significant that they can breathe through their nose. Mouth breathers are edgier people. They are edgier kids. It so happened that my kiddo yesterday rarely has a nose that works. So I told his mom we need to get his nose working. We need to figure that out. Now I get this time, I mean, it's like allergy season, right? With the change of weather. And that's different, but to constantly have a nose that doesn't work is an issue, okay? So you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth or the nose. The calming breath is when the exhale is longer than the inhale, right? So to settle, you want it longer. To just keep a regular breath and to just pay attention, they can be equal, right? But if the exhale is shorter than the inhale, you actually cause anxiety. That's not the goal, right? We want to be grounded to this space. If they can do this before they take tests, this is fantastic, right? Because they are getting more oxygen to their brain and they are calming themselves so that then they can think better before they take a test, or before they perform, or before they have a game, or before you do a presentation, or before you have to do something, right? It helps all of that. Okay, so you ready? In through the nose, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. Okay, so I encourage you to do this in the mornings, right? Even with them, because mornings are crazy in most houses, right? I don't know a family that doesn't have a crazy morning, right? There's a lot to accomplish in a short amount of time, right? So if you are bringing kids to school, this is something that you could do in the car with them. And it's just, okay, we're gonna do our breathing. And you can hold up your driving, hold up your hand, right? Do your counting. Or just say the way I say it, okay, in, and then you can count in your head, out. And it's just to help them let go of all the stuff that happened in the morning. All the crazy, the fighting, the getting yelled at, the rushing, the missing breakfast, the eating too fast, the, oh my God, did I forget my homework, right? All that stuff, we just kind of let it go. So then they start their day at school better, right? Then they're ready to learn. If I could get teachers to do this before they start class, their classes would do better. If I get teachers to do it before tests, the kids would do better, right? If I could get teachers to do it after they have issues in the classroom, the kids would do better, right? The teachers themselves would do better because they have a bunch of stuff they had to accomplish in the morning too to get there, right? Everyone would be better. They would be able to receive and absorb more information. Okay, so at night, it's great to do too, right? If you guys are praying at night with kids, do the breath before the prayer, do the breath after the prayer. One of the things that I've always talked about is that when we pray, we talk to God, right? That's us praying and we talk. When you do the breath, or when you are quiet, is when you hear God's answers, right? So you have to settle yourself and your mind in order to receive. Receive information from God, receive knowledge, figure out where you left the keys, figure out all that stuff. Remember the stuff you forgot to do. You know, these epiphanies happen when you are just quiet, right? This is when the most information is received, is when you can calm your mind, okay? And kids are way better at it than we are, all the time, right? Once they learn how to do this, they will be so much better at it than you are. And they'll remind you to do it. Looks like you might need to do some deep breathing, Mom. Right? I get that. I have gotten that. My little one has come up to me and he's like, maybe you should breathe. And I'm like, maybe you should go away. But he's right in the moment because he can see it more clearly than we can. Right? Hi, y'all. If you can pray with them into adolescence, I want you to. Okay? And if you start now and you just keep going, they won't think anything of it, right? But it's still a moment of intimacy together. So my favorite quote, or my favorite research, this researcher it's from Winnicott, and he said it's called The Good Enough Mother, right? The good enough mother loves her child, but not all of his behaviors. The good enough mother isn't always available to her child whenever he wants her. The good enough mother loses it sometimes. The good enough mother is human and makes mistakes. The good enough mother learns from her mistakes. Right? So our job is to be good enough. Our job is not perfection because we set them up to fail. Right? If our expectation for us is perfection, imagine what message that sends to our children. It sends to our children that they're expected to be perfect as well. This little boy that I had to teach how to breathe yesterday has issues with perfection, right? Now this is only the second time I've seen him, so I don't know how intense his parents are with their own perfection, right? So this is something that we are gonna have to work on, that I'm gonna have to work on with him. Right, is allowing himself to make mistakes. That's why it's so significant for us as parents to not beat ourselves up when we make mistakes, right? So the way it's supposed to look in your house, the hierarchy of relationships in your house is supposed to look like this, right? The hierarchy, the triangle of significance. The first relationship that's the most important is your relationship with God, right? So you and your relationship with God is at the top of the pyramid. Then it's your relationship with yourself. Okay? Relationship with God, relationship with yourself. Then it's your relationship with your partner. Right? And then the bottom of the hierarchy is your relationship with the children. Okay? So a lot of times people are like, oh no, the kids come first. That's not the way it is, right? If you are not good with God and you are not taking care of you and your relationship, your kids are a lot more difficult. Everything's harder when you don't have all that stuff taken care of first, right? When you and your partner are on the same page, the kids are so much easier, right? You present as a united front, you're kind and loving to each other, you role model that to them. The issues that come up with the kids, you don't feel like it's just you having to manage them. Like you have somebody to help you with this stuff. Somebody to help you calm down, right? Somebody to help you get worked up a little. So the hierarchy starts with your relationship with God, yourself, your partner, and then the kids. Because everything with the kids will be easier, all that is accomplished. Okay. Kids have all the same emotions that you do. Every single one of the emotions that you do, and the least amount of tools to manage them, right? Kids were not born missing any emotions. They just don't know how to manage them. So the younger they are, the least tools they have, right? This is why I've always said that kindergarten is the most stressful year of school, because they have the least amount of tools to manage, right? People think it's like high school, freshman year of high school, or freshman year of college. It's not. And the reason it's not is because you have a lifetime of tools to manage your emotions at that point, right? So kindergarten is the hardest year, then it's first grade, that's the most stressful, then it's second grade, and it goes up that way as they start to build their little toolbox of how to manage their emotions in life. So how do we improve communication with kids? This is the one I hate the most because it puts way too much pressure on me, but it's role modeling. So role modeling basically means that they basically do what you do, right? So how much fun do you have, right? Do you apologize when you mess up? Do you clean up your messes? Are you humble enough to own your stuff and to make it up and to fix it, even with the children, right? How do you express anger? How do you express sadness? How are you happy, right? They learn all of that from you. They also learn how to be in relationships from you. So you and your partner's relationship will represent what they seek out in marrying their relationship. This is why everybody says they marry their mother, right? Because you actually do. Because what you seek is what this relationship was like, right, with your parents. Because that's what's comfortable for you. Doesn't mean it's right? Because there are abuse cycles that go on forever, right? And domestic violence, they still seek domestic violence. Right? They don't intentionally think that in their head, like, I need to go find someone who's going to hurt me, or I need to find someone that's going to let me hurt them. But this is what they know. This is what they're familiar with. This is what they seek. Right? So what does your relationship look like? And how can your relationship with your partner be better? Because this is what the role model is for your children and their relationships with their partners. Okay, how do I improve communication with my kids? Do what you say you're gonna do, right? Consistency, you hear it all the time, and it's so cliche. I feel like when I talk about consistency, it's like, again, I have to talk about consistency, right? Like, oh my gosh, I say it all the time. But then there's like this big hole if I don't say it, because it's so significant as part of development for kids, right? Doing what you say you're gonna do. That's the integrity part too. Right? So being consistent keeps kids safe, right? Anxious kids come out of houses where there are lots of different caretakers, lots of different rules. Nobody holds him or her accountable, right? They don't know what's right one day and what's wrong the next day, right? These are anxious kids, right? The other anxious child is the child that is not held accountable. Because then who's in charge? That causes anxiety. I am in charge and I am 10. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And then they look like crazy kids, right? They have tantrums when they don't get their way. They talk to you as if they're talking to one of their friends or less. They have very little respect, and it's all about anxiety. Because they need someone to be in charge, because they know that they cannot manage it, right? Now, they love getting stuff, and they like getting away with stuff, but in their core, they know that this is not okay. And then they start acting up. It took me a while. I had one little girl who came in, and she was basically blowing and going in her house, right? Running the show, disrespectful. Took some time for me to understand the family dynamic, right? To understand what was going on. And I found out that basically she was running everything, that she was in charge, and her parents would threaten consequences or to actually give her consequences but never follow through on anything, right? So she had no respect for them or their authority or anything like that, and she was a mess, right? She wasn't going to school every day. She missed Mondays pretty much regularly, just didn't go on Mondays, right? Like, who gets to just not go to school on Mondays, right? So once I started figuring all this out, I'm like, okay. So then I spent more time with the parents and helping them understand the significance of holding her accountable. And once that started happening, that's when the switch happened with her. That's when she started asking permission again to go outside and go play. That's when she asked permission if she could have friends over, right? She asked permission then if she could just eat stuff in the house, right? All that was gone. Then it came back. I don't see him anymore, and it's been a while, which is perfect, right? I'm not supposed to see him ever again. They come for a minute and they go away. But it took me a minute. So being consistent and holding them accountable is significant, right? So consistency equals safety. Safety equals trust. They have to trust you first. They have to trust that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. Parents talk all the time about how we need to trust our kids, and I need to trust you. You can't do anything until I know I can trust you. And that's backwards. They have to trust us first. And if we can't follow through with what they say, we cannot expect them to be trustworthy, right? Because they didn't learn that anywhere. They don't have any idea what that means. So you actually have to be trustworthy, right? And that all brings us to integrity, right? And doing what you say you're gonna do. And living a life, knowing what you are responsible for and following through with what you say. And just think of what the world would look like if everyone lived life with integrity and they just did what they said they were gonna do.